existing platform and extend it or enhance it, developers like the fact that Google allows them to do that.
Yeah.
And it's a radically different kind of mindset. And yes, it is bottom up because people are helping to build and establish the platform. That's exactly what President Obama did as a parallel to get to the presidency. Of course, President Obama really showed the world how to use technology to achieve a political purpose or a political dream, right? So it makes sense that he would embrace Google. But, you know, this is a turf war. It's a turf war in a very real sense. We talk about politics, we talk about war between countries. There are warring factions on the technology front. Microsoft, Apple, Google are all in that turf war. I'll give you one example. How many of you have GPS devices? Many people have them.
I have a GPS device, yes.
Many people have them, whether they're units that are separate. Many people have them built into their cars.
Yes.
Well, now Google is going to introduce new software for your smartphone. Many people already have GPS software on their smartphones, but what this software will do is it will actually do everything that those units do. Units from Garmin, units from TomTom, they will give you real-time traffic data, satellite and street-level views of your route, and speech directions, spoken directions. So think about that. It makes those devices, those extra devices you have to carry, obsolete. But get this, since Google made that announcement last week, Garmin's stock dropped 16%. TomTom's plunged 21%.
Wow.
That's just based on the announcement. And now you've got other companies, Verizon, who's one of the largest providers of telecom in the United States. They're coming out with a smartphone called the Droid, and they're directly going after Apple. If you've watched some of these ads on TV, then you've probably picked that up. So between Microsoft, Apple, Google, and even smaller players like Verizon, you're going to see some very interesting things happen in the next couple of years.
You know, it's not good to be number one, because when you're number one,
you're the
number 2, 3, 4, 5 come after you, want to chop you down. And that's what's going on, even in technology world.
Especially in technology. I'll give you one other data point. Did you know that the iPhone, those apps they're called, on the iPhone, there's over 150,000 of them. That industry is a billion-dollar industry that was introduced in large part by the iPhone.
That's right. And by the way, it's not that these apps are sold by the company. It's sold by individuals.
It's an open
and they get
platform.
money for it.
It's
a beautiful, beautiful platform.
So in some ways, that development is a lot like what Google has said. You know, bring us your applications. It'll be open source development.
That's why President Obama likes them, because they're inclusive, and that's his mantra.
That's right.
There you go. One good news coming out in the Fortune that says, because of the recession, people are not dying at the same rate as they die when the times are good. You know why?
Well, I'm guessing because people aren't living a life of excess.
That's right. People don't eat too much in one meal. They want to save it for the next. They bicycle if they have to just go out, or they have so much time, they exercise. They don't smoke that much because smoking costs money, and so on and so forth. The casket makers of the United States are complaining that their business has gone down by 25%.
Wow. Well, I guess that, you know, I'm not entirely surprised by that. I would imagine a lot of people are choosing cremations to cost savings measures as opposed to caskets.
By the way, did you know by 2020 the rate of cremation will be 50% of Americans? I mean, that's what they're going to use instead of burial in the ground.
That's a very interesting statistic. But did you also know that Walmart has become the largest online retailer of caskets?
I think that's exciting. But at the same time, folks, talking about caskets and dying on a Saturday morning is not fun.
No, so we're going to switch the topic quickly.
Yes.
To a different kind of economy that seems to be taking off. Now, folks, we've all heard about the green movement.
Yes.
The green movement has come everywhere. It is in fashion. It is in technology. It is everywhere. Well, how should I say, sex is not without the green movement itself. Did you know products are now available on the market that are made of green materials? You don't think of these things.
Reusable materials.
Reusable materials, but this is very important. Time magazine actually covered this topic, so I feel compelled to cover it for our audience. But it is in fact true. Any product that you might have been interested in for purposes in the bedroom, you can now find that are actually made of eco-friendly materials. This is absolutely true. So, for example, there are now, non-leather whips, or you can look at neoprene handcuffs, vegan condoms. This was my favorite one, or organic lubricant. These are just a few. But the green movement, this is actually important because this industry actually is one of the largest around the world.
That's right.
And so if there is an area for the green movement to touch, why not? And I think, this is one way we can all personally embrace the green movement for ourselves.
Yes, and the Vogue magazine did a great spread on the green fashion. And some of the dresses in there, you take a look at it, I mean, the colors are just so vibrant, so lovely.
Green is everywhere in fashion now. You'll find a lot of women are actually wearing the color green. There are green ties, green shirts.
Yeah.
So I think there's just a general awareness now of this, and it's coming out in all different forms. I think it's great.
I think it's wonderful.
Well, not to switch topics entirely, but to focus on India for a minute, there are a couple of stories I wanted to share. First of all, have you noticed that Bollywood has become increasingly political in its messages, in its movies? Well, I'm not talking about Slumdog Millionaire because that actually wasn't a Bollywood production, but for example, Mr. and Mrs. Iyer, which was a film that many of us saw and actually liked the message behind it. It's no accident, folks. Bollywood is actually making a concerted effort. In the last 10 years, it has chosen to explore harsher realities of life and confront the audiences with tougher questions. Now, I have a theory for why this is happening.
Why?
Traditionally, Bollywood cinema has always been very bubblegummy. Always, it's not always been a happy ending, but it's always singing, dancing, happiness, the same formula gets used over and over. Well, audiences do burn out on those things, number one. But number two, I think Bollywood has realized its global reach. And in that global reach, it's realized that Indians aren't just looking towards Bollywood for those traditional types of cinema. They're actually looking for richer, meatier roles. And our global participation, the fact that it's a global industry now, necessitates that we actually go after those topics we haven't felt comfortable talking about before.
That's an excellent point. With the advent of subtitles,